The moment the father pointed toward the brighter, prettier daughter, something invisible but enormous broke inside the quiet one standing beside her. It was not loud, not dramatic, not visible to anyone else in that grand sunlit hall, but it was the sound of a lifetime of being unseen finally collapsing in on itself. The words that followed were polite, practical, and socially acceptable, but they carried the weight of a verdict. One sister was meant to be chosen, and the other was meant to be left behind. What no one expected was that the man who had been offered beauty would instead choose truth, and in doing so would change the fate of them all. Before the story unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet people finally being seen, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach hearts like yours. The hall was built for celebration, with tall arched windows pouring in warm light, pale flowers lining the aisle, and guests murmuring softly as if even their voices feared to disturb the perfection of the moment. The older daughter stood in blue, her posture rigid, her hands folded neatly as she had been taught, her face calm in the way of someone who had learned not to expect anything from the world. The younger sister beside her glowed with the kind of beauty that made people soften unconsciously, her presence bending attention toward her like gravity. The father stood between them, dignified, proud, performing what he believed was a generous act. He was offering his daughter a future of wealth, protection, and status by placing her into the hands of a powerful duke whose arrival had stirred the entire family into nervous excitement. The quiet sister had not been asked what she wanted. She never was. She had grown up in the shadow of her sister's laughter, her sister's praise, her sister's easy belonging, where the younger was. Celebrated for being radiant, charming, and lively, the elder had been quietly described as sensible, reserved, and dependable, words that felt less like compliments and more like ways of explaining why she was never chosen first. She had learned to shrink herself without realizing it, to make room for everyone else's brightness, to exist in the margins without complaint. And when the father gestured toward the pretty one, he did so with the casual confidence of a man certain he was making the right decision for everyone. The Duke had listened politely. He had watched carefully. He had not been distracted by the shimmer of silk or the curve of a smile. His eyes had rested longer on the one who was not being presented, on the one who held herself as if she were always preparing to be overlooked. He noticed the way she flinched almost imperceptibly when her sister was indicated, the way she inhaled slowly as if steadying herself for disappointment she had expected long before it arrived. He noticed the sadness that did not ask for attention, the dignity that did not demand it, the strength that had grown quietly from years of being second. He had come seeking a wife, yes, but more than that, he had come seeking a partner who understood endurance, loyalty, and the weight of unchosen things. He had lived his own life in the shadow of louder men, stronger men, men who had been celebrated while he had been useful. He recognized the same survival in her eyes. And so when the moment came for him to accept what was offered, he did something that startled everyone, including the quiet sister herself. He chose the one who had not been offered. The hall shifted, the warmth faltered, the air changed. Confusion rippled through the guests, through the family, through the father who felt suddenly embarrassed, then offended, then uncertain. The younger sister's glow dimmed into something sharper, something wounded. And the quiet sister felt nothing at first, not joy, not relief. Only disbelief, the kind that freezes the heart before it allows hope to enter. Her life changed in that instant, not because she had suddenly become special, but because someone had finally seen her as she already was. The transition into her new life was not a fairy tale. She did not suddenly become confident or radiant. She did not feel worthy of the grand rooms, the respectful bows, the careful attention of servants. She moved through the Duke's world like a guest who had wandered into the wrong story. She was kind, yes. She was thoughtful, patient, gentle. But she still expected to be dismissed. She still prepared herself for abandonment. And the Duke, who had chosen her not to save her, but to walk beside her, gave her something far more powerful than praise. He gave her space. He did not rush her into being anything else. He did not demand gratitude or transformation. He allowed her to speak when she wished, to be silent when she needed, to learn without pressure. He treated her not as a fragile rescue, but as an equal who had simply not been given the chance to unfold. And slowly, in the quiet safety of that respect, she began to become herself. She found her voice in small ways first, in decisions about the household, in kindness towards staff, in listening to people who were usually unheard. She discovered that she had insight, empathy, and strength that had been buried under years of being invisible. She began to stand taller without realizing it. She smiled more easily. She slept more peacefully. The world had not changed. She had. Meanwhile, the family she had left behind felt the absence of something they had never valued. The younger sister struggled with a bitterness she had never known before, not because she had lost a title, but because she had lost certainty. The father felt the ache of having misjudged what truly mattered, and in that regret they began to see what they had overlooked. Time passed. Seasons changed. The quiet sister became a woman who carried herself with gentle authority, whose presence calmed rooms, whose compassion softened even the hardest people. She was not dazzling, but she was luminous, not loud but powerful, not dramatic but unforgettable. And one day she returned to her childhood home, not as a daughter seeking approval, but as a woman who no longer needed it. She returned with grace, with warmth, with forgiveness that surprised even herself. She did not arrive to prove anything. She arrived to reconnect, to heal, to close a chapter without bitterness. Her family saw her then, truly saw her, and what they saw humbled them. They saw not the rejected sister, not the plain one, not the quiet one, but a woman of depth, resilience, and quiet brilliance. They saw what they had missed. And in that recognition, something healed for all of them. Near the end of her journey, the quiet sister stood in a garden much like the one where she had once stood invisible, and she felt something new blooming inside her. Not the need to be chosen, but the knowledge that she already was, by herself, by the world, by the life she had grown into. The Duke stood beside her not as her savior, not as her rescuer, but as her companion, her equal, her partner in a life built on respect rather than spectacle. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who needs to feel seen, and subscribe so you can be part of this growing space of kindness and hope. And before the ending, I would love for you to comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Because this story is not about a duke or a choice or even about sisters. It is about the quiet people in the world who are overlooked, not because they lack worth, but because they carry it silently. It is about the ones who wait, who endure, who give without being noticed. And it is about the power of one person seeing them and saying, not with words, but with actions, that they matter. The rejected sister was never truly rejected. She was simply waiting for the moment when someone would recognize the beauty that had always lived within her. Waiting for a life that would finally meet her kindness with kindness in return. And when that moment came, it did not arrive with fireworks or applause. It arrived with understanding, with respect, with love that was quiet, steady, and real. And that kind of love, more than any grand gesture, is what changes a life forever.